We're on. Really professional.
Hey, welcome back, sports fans, to another episode of Sports, of Course, with your pals, Jonah and RPF. We are getting deep into the NFL season, and things are really starting to shake out, or are they, for that matter, in the wild card races. And we've got some teams at the top that are starting to slip just a little bit, all that and a whole lot more as we get into it. But before we do, my friend RPF, how are you on this fine day?
Well, first of all, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all.
Yes, yep.
To you, for sure, and yours, and certainly our legions of fans. And I'm appreciating your festive background. Unlike my barren wall, which is very, I think the jig is up. People have already realized that I'm being institutionalized for my opinions. But I'm actually in New York City. But yeah, it's that time of year, man. It's ho 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 and like playoffs. Who's gonna make it? So it's gonna be fun. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's waste no more time. But real quick before we do, you can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all the great platforms, as well as find us socially on Instagram and X, and of course our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of Course, with Jonah and RPF into the search bar. We should be the only Sports, of Course, with Jonah and RPF that pop up for your listening pleasure. All right, without further ado, let's dive into what happened this past weekend in the NFL. This shouldn't take too long. It wasn't that raucous of a weekend. I will say, though, my friend RPF, the first game, the Thursday night game, going all the way back to last Thursday, the Thursday night game, of all people, the Las Vegas Raiders said to the Miami Dolphins, almost said to the Miami Dolphins, hold my beer. Almost. And they put up 63 points. Now, listen, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time in this game. Other than that, the outcome is pretty much worthless. I was just shocked. Like, this team, didn't they get shut out like a weekend or two ago or something?
They literally did not score. I mean, in fact, I think 63 totaled their entire season's output into one game. I mean, I don't know what the F happened there, but it's been that type of season. So yeah, I think the first game with that Raiders game and the last game when the Seahawks came back to beat the Eagles became the two kind of like bookend surprises.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. That's the only reason I wanted to bring it up. And then, all right, then getting into, we had our Saturday slate. We had a pretty good one here. We had the Bengals and Vikings head into overtime. And the Bengals edged them out a little bit to move on to 8-6, while the Vikings fall to 7-7. Later in the show, we're going to get into what we touched upon last weekend, which was the bottleneck at the wild card spots. And so basically every game from here on out for almost half of the league is kind of like do or die as we go forward. Same thing with the Colts and Steelers at the second game on Saturday there. Colts won, prevailed over the Steelers. Steelers seem to be reeling pretty bit. RPF, I have a question for you. What's your take on the Steelers right now? Let me just put it that way.
For the first time ever, I think we talked about Tomlin and what a great coach he is, unquestionably. And for the first time, I'm hearing whispers like maybe it's time Tomlin goes. Because they can't move the ball. They have Trubinsky as a quarterback, which is just, I mean, that and Teddy Bridgewater will be my worst nightmares to be quarterbacks for my team. Got to bring Teddy Bridgewater into every podcast.
That's right. It's interesting.
I don't think the Steelers can score enough points to compete. That's the thing. Yeah, they have a very solid defense, but it's not enough.
Right.
It's a team sport, so you need to have.
Yeah, they obviously they lost their starting quarterback in Pickett. Who isn't fantastic, but I think he's an upgrade from.
Well, you can argue in some ways that they've lost a starting quarterback when Big Ben just retired. I mean, that's basically
it's very true. But I just mean that it was a team that seemed to be trending in the right direction for a little while there, and then they lost.
Well, they were winning. They were winning.
Well, they were gritty. They refused to lose, is what they were doing.
Right.
But then they lost Pickett, and then I think the next weekend they lost to the Patriots, which, good God.
I know.
So,
To tease you further as a possibility.
What I hate though, and I know it's just kind of, it's kind of the way the cookie crumbles a lot in this league, is what I hate is that it just all of a sudden gets pinned on Mike Tomlin and
Right.
But when you like, it's not like when you watch it. Have you seen the tapes of two receivers in particular, Deontay? What the heck's his name?
Yeah, them.
Yeah, and Pickens.
Pickens, right?
Just like not doing it. Like the ball gets hiked and they literally don't do anything.
I literally cannot believe it. I think they just misheard. I mean, at first I thought they were kidding. I was like, "What is happening?" they just like stand there. I was like, "What the hell?"
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And then Pickens got asked about his, and he was, he basically just stood there on a block that if he had picked up the block that he was supposed to, pick
the
up,
edge rusher, exactly.
They would have scored the touchdown. And
right.
And
you take that contrast with someone like Tyreek Hill, who literally is sprinting up and down and sideways every play. He's in motion. Every play he's like trying to, he's 5'0", trying to throw his body in front of people. That's a football player versus somebody who is a prima donna or not
any of the other 75 receivers in the league. Didn't have to be Tyreek Hill, but I understand you wanted to get your Dolphins into the conversation. So
we'll be talking Dolphins in a minute. Don't worry.
All right.
By the way,
Colts,
I'm still reeling from last night's episode of the Hard Knocks.
Really okay. We'll have to fill us in. So the Colts move on to win that one. As I said, they move on to 8-6, and Minshew Mania keeps their hopes alive. And I just saw a stat that said my man Baker has a higher QBR rating than I think it said Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson.
Only Tua has a higher rating. But you know what? He had a perfect rating in last week's game.
Did he really?
Baker Mayfield. Yeah. It cannot be higher. Yeah.
So they sit at 7-7, which puts them right in the mix in the NFC South there, as well as the wild card spots. So we'll get into that a little bit. The Texans went on to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Dolphins went on to shut out the Jets 30-0, and I think if we backtrack,
can we just say one? We'll backtrack for 1 second about this game. But go ahead.
I was going to say, can we backtrack 1 second to last week's episode when RPF was like, I don't know, you got to be careful.
Well, I'll say this about the Dolphins.
Okay.
The Jets came in as the 5th-ranked defense still in football, which is crazy, until this week's game. Zach Wilson was the offensive player of the week, if you can believe that, for his performance the week before. So, I wasn't making this whole thing up out of whole cloth. I mean, it was kind of a sleeper game before the 3 mighty games that the Dolphins have to face. So it could have been an overlooked game. Weirdly, and if you see the episode, as I mentioned, of Hard Knocks last night, Coach McDaniel says to the team, this collapse, this utter collapse by all of us, and it was a team effort, including very much me and my crew, could be the best thing that happens to us, because this will never happen to us again. So that type of thing. So they were so prepared. They had the best practice apparently right before the game, and he said, "Oh, they're ready." And even without Tyreek Hill, the team had a kind of lean forward attitude, and sure enough, just completely obliterated, demoralized the Jets 30-0, which is just catnip for any Dolphins fan, because the Jets are not. We'd rather lose to the Patriots and Bills 100 times than to the Jets. So, and we probably have lost 100 times to the Patriots and Bills. But yeah. The game itself, it really is a table setter for what's going to come down to everything. The Dolphins have the toughest schedule for the last 3 weeks.
You got the gauntlet coming. That's right.
Yeah, we have the Dallas Cowboys on Christmas Eve in Miami. We have the game of the year, possibly for the AFC at least, Miami at the Ravens next week, and then we finish the season with the honor of hosting the Buffalo Bills. So it doesn't get tougher than that. So going into the playoffs, which the Dolphins will make, the goal, of course, is the number 1 seed. The Dolphins are like 800% win with McDaniel at home So obviously, if people have to go through South Beach, I'd rather play the Bills and the Ravens and the Chiefs through Miami than anywhere else. But at least we have to really just secure the East, so we have one home game to play in the playoffs. So anyway, so it's going to be an incredible game, incredible 3 weeks. But Dallas, here's what I'll say about this: Dallas at Miami is it's one of 2 Super Bowl possible previews in this week's schedule. The other one we'll talk about.
Maybe.
Well, they're both number 2.
If you're a Dallas or Miami fan,
well,
you might think it's a Super Bowl preview.
It's not totally plausible. They're both the second seed currently in their conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, relax. And then the other thing is, the other preview, of course, is the more obvious one, are the Ravens at the 49ers, which is just like a mind-blowing, epic game, possibly. So at San Francisco. And for all I just became the biggest Niners fan ever, but that's those 2 games, and that's on Christmas night. That's the late game on Christmas evening, on 8:00, and then Dallas and Miami is a Christmas Eve, on the afternoon game at 4:00. So it's going to be a very, very football centric. Well, we hoped Thanksgiving would be in football. I think Christmas has taken over
right.
for the game. I mean,
right.
I can't imagine. By the way, can we talk about the Cowboys and how they just stunk up the joint with the Bills, not showing up at all?
Yeah, we can almost fast forward to that one, because I think I was going to cover the Chiefs beat the Patriots. Wow.
You guys were in it for about a minute.
For like a second. We got an interception. We're like, oh my gosh, we're good. And then I was like,
I know.
By the way,
go ahead. But
I was just going to say, the Saints beat the Giants. The Panthers picked up a win. That's worth noting, I think, but maybe over the Falcons.
Bonanza.
The Rams beat the Commanders to keep their playoff hopes alive, and the 49ers crushed the Cardinals, as everyone expected, which then brings us up to the Cowboys-Bills game, which was slated to be the game of the week, and turned out the Bills just said, nah, not so much.
Well, the 2 biggest surprises of the week for me were, well, first of all, are the Rams and Colts headed for a Super Bowl clash? Just
yeah, that'd be fun.
Like the worst nightmare for the NFL. Just wait, all the executives wake up screaming, no. No, I think the 2 biggest surprises, not in this order, were the Cowboys not showing up at all to the Bills game at all. It was like Jekyll and Hyde once again. It was completely like they just laid down. And the second biggest surprise was that the number 1 crew of I keep forgetting his name. Who's the quarterback that the number 1 announcer on CBS? The Dallas Cowboys.
Tony Romo.
Tony Romo was calling the Jets-Dolphins game. How's that possible? Was that the best game for CBS to be able to put Tony Romo on? I mean, it was just terrible.
The Cowboys-Bills was the evening game, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was but since he was at Buffalo, it was on Fox, I think. So because the Cowboys are on the other conference. But the point is that Tony Romo had to endure a 30-0 shellacking of the Dolphin game. We're just kind of basically talking about each other's weekend schedule in Miami. They were completely bored with this game. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the Cowboys. I mean, I'm hoping that Jekyll stays Jekyll for the team that's the team we face. Miami faces it.
Right, they're headed to Miami this coming weekend. Yep.
But oh my goodness, that was. I mean, even the second half, they were just kind of slow and lethargic, and the Bills were just playing, John Madden, and Josh Allen was being all kinds of Josh Allen-like things.
Well, the biggest thing I saw from the Bills that surprised me was sort of this emergence of is it James Cook? Yeah, James Cook.
Yeah, number 4. Yeah, the running game. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, I mean, not the run game, but also how versatile he is out of the backfield, catching passes out of the backfield. He's legit. And I think it took him, he's a rookie, so I think it took him a little while to kind of get his feet and go,
okay,
scary.
It's
I belong here, and that was what I'm looking at stats right now. James Cook, 179 yards in a touchdown.
I'm equating Cook as if Achane for the Dolphins got hurt early in the year. He was leading the NFL in scores and yards, and he got hurt for half the season. But I think those two could be like the present / future of that type of multiverse, that multi-hyphenate that San Francisco has. That so it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very high stakes offenses. It's really interesting to watch, I think. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Does this spell more optimism for the Bills or more detriment for the Cowboys for you?
Optimism for the Bills. I mean, the Bills are not even in. If the playoffs started today, they're not in the playoffs, and they're number 3 in every power ranking in football. So it's I mean, no one wants to face the Bills, me very much included, right now. But I will say, a bit like New England has a thing about Miami playing at Miami. The Bills don't like to play in Miami because bad things happen to them there. I'd have to remind you last year when they opened the season there, and the hissy fit the offensive coordinator had when he threw his headset down. And
that was that game.
Yeah, and that was Anyway, so it's the Bills are. I mean, I don't want to face the Bills. I don't want to face the Cowboys either because the Cowboys could just snap back and become like this unbelievable team again.
The Bills.
Dak can throw 4 touchdowns, in 2 seconds. Right.
The Bills are one of those teams that seem to be streaking at the perfect moment. Like they just seem to be that perfect storm. Reminiscent almost of the time the Giants teams that beat the Patriots, that went on to beat the Patriots. Win Super Bowls, beat the Patriots. However, unlike the Giants back then, they've got Josh Allen as opposed to Eli Manning, which what I'm saying is makes it even scarier. That they seem to be this this momentum gathering team.
It wouldn't surprise anybody if the Bills and Niners ended up being in the bowl. But I will say this: I am, if not now, when is the attitude with Miami? So that's going to be these 3 weeks, man. Everything. And here's the sad part for me. Fine, let's say we somehow emerge from this gauntlet, 2-1 or 3-0, and we were like shiny. We win the shiny penny, and we're the top seed. We have to sit there and like beat these teams again. So it's going to be 6 weeks. If the Dolphins go all the way, it's 6 straight weeks of pure like strap it on football. So it's a tall order for anybody. So this is what football is. So this is going to be, if you're elite, right? So that's where we are. So
we are going to find out. We've been asking the question pretty much the whole season with the Cowboys and Dolphins is can they beat good teams? And for both teams, we are about to find out in these last 3 weeks of the season. Certainly the Dolphins have a gauntlet, but the Cowboys have obviously the Dolphins, and then the Lions, and I think they end with the Commanders or something. But they've got 2 testers coming up. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Last game on Sunday was the Ravens taking on the Jaguars. They beat them 23-7. No surprise here. The only thing that came out of the game was moving the Jaguars down to 8-6, which now puts them in a 3-way 8-6 tie for the AFC South, which starts to make that look extremely interesting, which we'll get into in a second. And then the Monday night game. RPF, what is up with the Eagles?
Well, fraud alert. Only took 2 full years to get
get me. Man, they are struggling. They are
3 straight losses.
3 straight losses, which
the second team in history to go start 10-1 and lose the next 3
Is that
games.
right? Wow.
Yeah.
And when you think about the NFL, like it's hard if you're a fan of other sports, like it's certainly baseball, and you're like, oh, we lost 3 straight, and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. When you think about football, they only play once a week, so they've almost gone an entire month without a win.
Yeah, big deal.
So
a big deal.
Definitely reeling. What are your thoughts on I know we've talked about the Eagles quite a bit, but what are your thoughts on the Eagles right now? I mean, I think they're in the playoffs. This is
indicative of a bigger problem. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago how Jason Kelce was so upset that he made a mistake with holding or something or a pre-snap penalty.
Yep.
That they had to kick a field goal to take it, a 55-yarder or something to take it into overtime. Ended up winning the game. I think that was against the Bills, and and he was upset at the sideline and not happy about the field goal being made. Jason Kelce, like Mahomes last week, I told you that Mahomes, when he had his completely absurd childish meltdown, playground meltdown,
right,
about that obvious penalty. Yeah. But it's me. It's my team. That doesn't work. Anyway, it was so surprising and disappointing, I think was the word that I came up with, that I kept going back to. Jason Kelce did something in this game that was, when I was watching it, I was like, dude, he just moved the ball half a yard. And I don't know if you saw this whole play. Jason Kelce, it was a very critical part of the game. It was like, I believe, third down and half a yard. And the ref were meticulous. They actually spotted the ball exactly where they wanted it. Jason, as centers do, tilt the ball up when he went down. He inched it forward, then moved it flat, and then inched it forward again and moved it flat. It was, all of a sudden, according to Jason Kelce, it's a first down. So flag goes up, delay. They called it a delayed game because of whatever, and it was backbreaking because, of course, not to put it all on Jason Kelce, but I'm just saying that that's something that Jason Kelce is America's sweetheart. His brother's dating America's sweetheart. He's the best co-host podcaster in the country. He's the best.
Whoa.
Well, sorry, Jonah. No personal attack meant by that. So the point is that these heroes of ours are frustrated in real time, and Mahomes is chipping away at the armor at the perfect, and then we have Jason Kelce now from People Magazine's sexiest man alive contention to kind of just coming down a tiny bit because of really boneheaded things that our 11-year-old sons should know. So that's and it's almost, and I'm keep going back to the word entitlement, because unless you surround yourself with the no bullshit crowd, I've always liked really famous or intensely popular people to surround themselves with people who tell them to take out the trash, who don't yes men them all the time. And I have a feeling a little bit around this whole, it's hard to resist this aura of invincibility and specialness. And I'm thinking, and I'm not going to read into it because he took it like a man. He said it was a completely dick move on his part. He has to do better. He cannot do this again. But he literally owned up to everything. But it was just a weird moment in the game, and for someone that's so uncharacteristic for him to do that, And especially, it's not like no one's watching. What are you talking about? It's like literally the entire football world's watching down the line, and he was inching forward. So anyway, that was, to me, that was a symptom of a larger problem, that the Eagles aren't happy, that they're just reeling. And I think they're reeling. Who do they play this week? Do you know?
The Eagles?
Yeah. They better play someone like the Commanders or something, or Panthers. They need something.
The Eagles play the Giants.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, the Giants have bada bing, agents. So we'll see if the.
Here's what's happened. The Giants have a lot of buzz, a lot of positive buzz circling around them, and the Eagles have a lot of negative buzz circling around them. I think this game might be more interesting than people might think.
If it's even close, then the Eagles are done.
My question to you was, do the Eagles win a playoff game?
No, I told you they're going to go to Tampa Bay or Atlanta or someplace completely unworthy, New Orleans, and lose that game on the road. And they're all going to be glad. They're all going to go home and say, "Okay, next year we'll pick it up again." I think they're exhausted. Honestly, I think this intensity is too much.
Yeah, it's interesting. Speaking of playoffs, so with a couple of losses and a couple of key wins, our wild card, our battle for the wild card has stayed alive and well with like 400 teams still in it. We've
The
got
mighty Raiders.
well, here's what I was going to say. You've got the AFC South with three teams: the Jaguars, Colts, and Texans, all at 8-6. That's basically where the current wild card line sits at 8-6, and then you've got the Steelers and Broncos at 7-7. At this point, and you can even take into consideration which these teams, i.e., the Steelers and the Broncos, at this point, are you ruling out either of the 7-7 teams and just saying if you're not 8-6 at this point, you're not making it?
I think so.
Because I mean, you look at the
trajectory.
Yeah, you look at the 8-6, and it's like it's Bills, Texans, Colts, Bengals, and Jaguars.
Yeah, and they all look better, much better than those two 7-7 teams.
Yes, in fact, I do think the Texans appear to kind of be hanging on. They've been band-aided together a little bit. They started slow, and then they built this like super positive momentum, and CJ Stroud was looking amazing. And then I think as of recently, it's been like, just hang on for dear life, and they win some, they
Texans,
lose.
We can't win. Yeah,
right. So here's another question for you, and I'm gonna pose the same one when we talk about the NFC. So of those teams, all at 8-6, you got Jaguars, Bengals, Colts, Texans, Bills. Which teams do you feel? Let me put it this way: 2 of those teams won't make it. So, what are the 3 teams you feel the best about?
The Bills are without question going to make it. I think they're going to be imposing themselves. In fact, I think I'm hoping they make it clearly, and they doesn't impact their playoff run too much by the time they get to Miami for the last game. I hope.
Well, if they win out, they win the division.
Well, no, they don't. If Miami wins out, we win the division. If Miami, no, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. Because the Bills beat Miami at the last game. Okay, got it. I was saying with the same thing. If the Dolphins win out,
right?
Yeah.
If either of those 2 teams win out, they win the division.
Correct.
And the Dolphins can still win the division even if they don't win out, as long as the Bills don't win out.
If Bills lose or tie any game, which I would love to see them at 0-0 tie, that'd be fabulous. I just want to see the Bills again after this. But the Bills will be in the playoffs. So I think the other team that people are kind of sleeping on, justifiably, are the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to somehow get in there. They have talent on their team beyond Burrow. In fact, they loaded the team up for Burrow to kind of lead them, and now the backup quarterback, as I would say in magazines, TK, to come. I don't even know his name, but essentially, whomever is there is managing the game enough to squeak by with wins. He can do that a couple more times, and I think they're in for sure. So
yeah, let me just look up. I want to see real quick.
I'm not convinced about the Texans. I'm not convinced about the Colts.
So I think the thing the Bengals got going against them, they play the Steelers this coming weekend, which
right. I think
they should win. But then again, like we know the history of these AFC North matchups.
Yeah,
like it's like
smash mouth stuff. Yeah.
They're always smash mouth. But then they have to play the Chiefs and the Browns to finish the season.
That's tough. Yeah.
So they've got a pretty tough road ahead of them.
What's the Colts schedule?
Colts, let me see. I'm right here. I can take a look at that. The Colts have oh boy. Colts have the Falcons, Raiders, and Texans.
And then what's the Jags schedule?
Jags schedule. Let me pull that one up. Jags are going.
Soon.
Oh man, they got a pretty light one too. They're going Bucks, Panthers, Titans.
Okay, I stand corrected. Forget what I just said.
Here's what I got. I think the Jaguars are going to hang on.
Jags will win the division.
I think they're going to hang on. I think that I got the Jaguars, Colts, and Bills of those 5 teams at 8-6.
That seems, given the schedule, yes, I amend my choices. I think I agree with you. Yeah,
I think I see them hanging on. And then likewise in the NFC, it's the same picture, only one notch down, if you will, with records. You've got the Bucks, Vikings, Rams, Seahawks, and Saints all at 7-7.
Can you know what? Let's do something. Let's do a service for America.
Okay.
Do you really care which teams get in there?
Of those, no, because the NFC doesn't have, like, the AFC has the Bills that are lurking in there.
Right.
NFC, none of these teams are lurking. Like, of those teams, Bucks, Vikings, Rams, Seahawks, Saints, are any of them gonna?
They're all hobbling in there. They're all injured.
They're all hobbling in there. Are they going to win the wild card round? I don't think so.
No. Let's move on. No. The only NFC is the 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, and Seahawks, maybe.
I mean, the NFC is it's as you know, if you've been watching ESPN at all, and I do appreciate this. They've dubbed the Super Bowl, or they've dubbed the NFC Championship game the San Francisco Invitational.
That's very funny. It's very funny. That's very funny.
So NFC, the 49ers are the team clearly, especially with the woes of the Cowboys and the Eagles as of late.
Yeah.
The Lions are still a very intriguing team.
I think. Okay, let's call it Lions at San Francisco in the championship game.
I'd love that. Yeah.
I would love, of course, personally, it'd be like, for me, let's say the Ravens at Miami at Baltimore or something, or vice versa. So that could be fun too. So.
Yep. I think, I don't know. I got these Bills. These Bills are high on my radar. They are high on my radar.
I know.
All right, let's take a look ahead here real quick at what's coming up.
Oh,
sure. Go ahead.
I want to talk about important topic.
Oh.
Yes. It's very, very, very important topic. Dear Swifties.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Our girl Taylor was in the booth for the game, Kansas City. And they cut, I don't know if you saw the play. I don't know if you saw this, Jonah, but it was, being a Swiftie, you should be really on top of this.
No, I didn't watch the game. You know why?
Oh, because, let me guess, why?
Because who are they playing? I can't watch this stuff anymore.
You didn't watch the game?
No. What? It wasn't on TV. It wasn't on cable.
Oh,
so,
well, yeah. I was
and
watching
I'm past the point. I'm past the point where I have to go to a bar and spend like $50 or $70 on a bar tab just to watch. Like when they're good. Sure, absolutely. When the Patriots are good,
I saw more plays than this game than you did. So this was a pass, third quarter, I believe, and Mahomes was trying to find Kelsey in the end zone. I don't know if you saw this highlight, but basically Kelsey was open. Mahomes threw it to him.
Yes, I did see this. Yeah.
And the DB kind of just touched his back, and he flopped like he literally acted like Jason from Halloween just hacked his head off. He literally just convulsed his body into this puddle in the end zone, where at that moment our queen, our sovereign, raised up into the booth and said, F-U-C-K, really loudly, screaming at the camera, like don't touch my man. And it literally it froze in time for me. This whole thing my entire world collided, because it looked to me, this is such a random reference. I want you to appreciate this for me. That moment of her man being like disheveled or being on the ground, hurt, which he wasn't, of course, and then no penalty was called, and Taylor was outraged that someone touched her man incorrectly, or maybe yelling at Mahomes for once again not getting him a touchdown. Anyway, so she was outraged, and all you saw was like, Taylor screaming. It looked like, wait for it, 1980s reference, a Paula Abdul video for her hit song Rush Rush. The video's premise was Paula Abdul was basically like Sandy from Grease, and her boyfriend or love interest was a drag racer, and Paula Abdul was the girl that did the flag and to start
this is a deep pull.
No, but it was so clear to me. I was like, what is happening right now? It was like the same reaction that Paula Abdul had in the video for her man being wronged or being cheated or whatever he did. I forgot the video. But anyway, the point is, that it was a Taylor Swift video moment. I said, this is fabulous cinema right here. Anyway, so I was very impressed. And of course, Travis Kelce got up and, caught the next ball for 12 yards for first. And she calmed down. But anyway, the point is that Swifties, you have to feel for her passion, right? She believes in her man. I love this. And headline, they're spending Christmas and New Year's together because he has to work, So she's going to be in the stands, in the booth for those games. So I'm very happy to hear that. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that you knew about my Paula Abdul rush video.
Yeah, that, my friend, is a deep pull.
That is, first of all, talk about Googling, kids. Google may not even know that answer yet. You have to go YouTube into the archives of the MTV vault. Yeah.
That's right.
But the song is great, and Paula Abdul was everything, back in the
everything. Day, so, yes, she was. All right. So with all of the aforementioned wild card battles happening, let's take a look at week 16 coming up in the NFL. We come out of the gates now again. So this is kind of the fun part about the NFL right now, is that you come out of the gate, and when I say Thursday night's matchup, you're going to be like, but they're both 7-7, and this is kind of like win or go home at this point.
Yeah.
So we've got the Saints and Rams opening up on Thursday Night Football, and if I had told you, hey, RPF, you ready to sit down on Thursday night, watch the Saints and Rams game? It's for a lot of people that's a snooze
I like the
fest,
Rams.
but
I love the wide receivers. I love
of course Puka Nacua.
And Cup, and so that was.
But my point is, for a lot of these fan bases, right? This is live or die at this point. This is, if you need to keep winning in order to maintain your playoff picture. So
the NFL is very happy with what's happening with it. This keeps everyone involved.
Massively irrelevant games are
the only people that are like in the tumbleweed territory, are like they're snoozing, are the Panthers and Carolina, and then all of New England is like tuned in to like curling in Saskatchewan, because the Patriots are not involved in anything.
No, they are not. And then the same thing with Saturday's first game, the Bengals and Steelers. Like the Bengals, like we just talked about them, if they want to stay alive in this playoff picture, they need to win. And the same thing with the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers will win. I think they're too much of a mess right now.
What's the Steelers score? 63 points on
the right.
The way this season's going, who knows?
And then that Saturday night game is the Bills and Chargers. Bills, I mean, they should handle them pretty easily. Sunday,
come on, LA Chargers.
Sunday we got Colts, Falcons, Seahawks, Titans. So again, Colts and Seahawks, you need to keep winning. Now this one gets interesting because I looked at the three games coming up, the Lions and Vikings. So the Lions and Vikings, they finished their seasons, both of them. They play twice. So they're playing this weekend and then the last weekend. So if the Vikings have some sort of magic up their sleeves, they could feasibly take over that division, but unlikely.
And the Vikings, and if they do that, if they get in, they could actually face each other in the second round of playoffs. Isn't that funny? So they will play 3 times in 5 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Here's a good one: Commanders and Jets. That'll be one to look forward to. Packers, Panthers, meh. And then we get another Browns, Texans. Again, 2 teams. The Browns, I think, are fairly secure in their playoff picture, but the Texans obviously have to keep winning. And then we get into some Jaguars, Bucks. Again, 2 teams that need to keep winning. Cardinals, Bears. Nope. All right. And then we get into the better games here. We get into your game. We get the 4:25 slate at Christmas Eve. We have the Cowboys and Dolphins. This, I think, should be really interesting. Again, like I said, these are 2 teams that we've been saying all year. They appear to be really good, and they appear to be really good on paper. However, both teams keep kind of faltering to anytime they go up against a better team. So,
correct.
I think this will be a great game.
Give, right? So something's got to give, right?
Something's got to give, and
I'm going to go with the optimism. I'm going to go with both teams are going to come out sharp. The stakes are too high. These are professionals making a ton of money. They have a national audience watching them.
Yep.
It's going to just okay, enough with the BSing. Let's get in there. So it's going to be I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's 6 teams that are just at full flight without any, regard to X factors that are everywhere in football, but just actual talent versus talent. These are one. These 2 teams are among the 6 that at full force are. It's going to be like popcorn stuff, like just watching excellence. I think this is going to be a really close game. And I think it's going to be an excellent game. And it's going to come down to a turnover of, hopefully not officiating.
Here's here's what I'll say. For me, I think it's going to come down to the availability of Tyreek Hill.
I think he's going to be available.
I think he is. I mean, I think he barely missed the last game. I think he missed the last game because they're like against the Jets.
Look, he needs 514 yards to break the 2,000. He's not going to miss it. He's going to insist on 140 yards for that.
But I think if he's available and if he's available and at even, I don't know, let's say 85%, not 80, but 85%. I give this one to the Dolphins. I do. I give it to him if Tyreek's available. I give it to him by a touchdown.
Wow. Okay. Good. I'll take it. I'll take 10 points so I can have 2 scores.
To be fair, this has more to do with my lack of trust in the Cowboys down the stretch.
You don't have to. By the way, my mom used to say, once you say your piece, don't over-explain. I don't need to know the underlying reason. I know why you're saying the Cowboys are not going to do it because you saw what they did with the Bills. I mean, so maybe they don't like the East Coast, but
maybe not.
Yeah, but I do think that this is huge. This game is huge. I mean,
maybe they don't like the East Coast. However, this has always miffed me that the fact that they are in the NFC East.
It miffed me that the fact the Dolphins should be in the AFC South, like playing these idiot teams twice a year instead of these mighty Bills and Patriots all these years. But yeah, so I think the Dolphins are going to be ready. They're going to be ready, and it's going to be.
Then we move on to Christmas Eve night. Patriots. What the? Can you hear that?
Are you hearing something?
Yeah. Streaming. All right. So did you not hear that? Okay. It's like this ad just started playing for Duracell. At any rate, I will. Oh my God! It's still playing. Stop.
Maybe they're a sponsor that we didn't know about.
Good gracious! All right. Okay. I can. Let's see. I was all right.
The late game.
And then we move on to the Christmas Eve night game, which is my beloved Patriots taking on the Broncos. I'm torn because I'd love to see a little Christmas magic and a nice Patriots win because I will be tuning into the game. We'll probably watch it outside on my father-in-law's massive projection movie theater like thing. But I'm also torn because I don't know if I want to win because I think we might be better off getting a higher draft pick at this point. So
it's a good class.
I don't know what to do.
No.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know if I'm going to be watching that game that carefully, but to be perfectly honest, I'm probably going to be like too stressed out over the Dolphins and Cowboys game earlier. But but then the next day, Christmas Day,
we got Raiders and Chiefs. We got Raiders and Chiefs, Giants and Eagles, which we mentioned earlier in the show. Giants have a lot of positivity circulating them. Eagles have a lot of negativity. I think this could be more interesting than one would think. And then, of course, the Christmas. I was going to say Christmas Eve. The Christmas night game should be fantastic. You got Ravens taking on the 49ers.
Yeah. I think the 49ers, frankly, I think they take it handily, but I think the Ravens, I think Lamar is too quirky, and too in his unpredictability. He's too predictable in some, if that makes any sense, because I think the 49ers are just a structured monolith. They're like this like IBM going against like all these little companies. It's like it just feels overwhelming at San Francisco. So of course, being a Dolphin fan, I'm hoping that happens. But I think the Niners are just a better structured team.
I do too.
But it should be amazing to watch. Honestly.
Yes. Yes. Let me ask you this: Do you think that the 49ers beat up on the Ravens and the Ravens go, oh dang, and then basically go and wreak havoc from here forward, as this is like their wake-up call?
You mean the Ravens wake-up call?
Yeah.
I think, look, no one's going to be surprised entirely if the Niners have an easy game. No one, but if the Ravens flip the script and they beat the Niners when they're flying so high right now, that's really is the danger for the Niners. I don't think the Ravens are impacted that much if the Niners win. If they win by 10, 12 points or less, the Ravens are still going to be the Ravens in the AFC, meaning that they're still going to be an imposing force. I think if the Niners lose in a substantial way at home against Baltimore, then Baltimore's number one everywhere. The Niners are like, are they really that good? Type of questions start coming up. So they have the danger. I think they know it. I think they're prepared. I think the Ravens are in for a long night.
Yeah.
And a long flight home on Christmas.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. That wraps up our football outlook. RPF, you got anything else for us?
I have one thing. I just want to talk about, my mighty Miami Heat basketball team, NBA.
Okay.
This is the first time that Bam Adebayo this week and Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. are all playing together for the first time this season because they're not hurt, and they're looking great. But I was thinking about it, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. won for the second time Rookie of the Month honors for his play, and we've made a lot of noise about the tall, skinny dude that's playing also, and he's not making as much noise. So Jaquez Jr., interestingly enough, for a basketball player, he's Mexican American, and if you want to get it micro, I love the idea because Miami, where he plays and where I'm from, and is predominantly, dominated by Cuban Americans and by different people in different countries from South America. Not so much Mexican Americans, which are the Hispanics generally in Texas and California and different parts. So I'm glad, very happy that there's a Mexican American like rock star taking over Miami now, which is really good. I think it helps the unification of the Hispanic experience in this country. So I think it's really, really good. So anyway, he's a good kid. He's smart. So anyway, just take a look at the Heat. They're once again, they're flying high and they're fun to watch. So
okay, there you have it. The high flying, fun to watch Heat. Take a look at them. Hey, listen, I'm gonna put a bow on this one, or I think RPF is. I'm gonna say put a bow. RPF's gonna put it on. There we go. That's all the time we have for the show this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. We know we did. You can listen to us everywhere you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all the great platforms. You can find us socially on Instagram and X, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF, and we should pop right up for your listening pleasure. And be sure to like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, tell.
Repeat.
That's all I got. I'm out of here.
Feliz Navidad.